So, today I'm gonna talk with the first Austrian artist from the contemporary circus field in this research. I'm very curious to know about the contemporary circus in Austria, and I think that I found a right guy to talk about it. Yes, today I interview Sebastian Berger, that has a bachelor degree for product and furniture design, works in the field of contemporary circus research, specializing in the manipulation of lines, mainly in forms of sticks. The correlating field of object design and development of manipulation techniques is a vast playground for innovation, and his ongoing research in this field and development of partners, as well as a system of understanding, is avant-garde in these manipulation techniques. As a performer, Sebastian co-founded the Fire Performance Collective, delivering over 3,000 shows globally. He has conducted workshops and master classes in 32 countries and actively participated in curating and judging contemporary circus initiatives in Austria. So I'm just very curious to talk with this guy. So, Sebastian, thank you so much to open space in your life, in your agenda, to be with us, sharing your knowledge about contemporary circus and Austria contemporary circus. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for the invitation. Happy to be here.
So, to start, the first question is a standard question. That is, what is contemporary circus for you?
Oh, very easy question, I see. So contemporary circus, for me personally, I think it's something that is very fresh, at least in Austria. And it's something that is still very in its infant steps. It's developing right now. So it's an exciting time, I would say, to be in Austria and to witness and be part of this process that is happening. Generally, it still has some similarities with like traditional circus or Cirque Nouveau, but it has developed further into its own realm, I would say. For me, contemporary circus, the name is a bit tricky because it always refers to what is happening at the time people speak about it. So I can kind of speak to present contemporary circus. Because I believe historically it has been called that already decades ago. Different. So yeah, what is it? For me, it still centers a bit around the extraordinary talent people have, and this is their material they start working from. And I would say in traditional circus, it was meant mainly to impress people, entertain them, and present kind of humans as these humans on stage that can do impossible things or nearly impossible things. And the main response that was worked for was people being in awe or being impressed and excited about it. And contemporary circus now breaks this up. And suddenly it can be so much more, and it can become very personal. Sometimes pieces are more about how to acquire such an extraordinary talent and the process to get there. And this is the main focus of the piece. What it entails on a personal level, the frustration people have to go through in order to acquire such a thing. Working with failure as a medium to make something that is a bit more human, more honest. Because obviously, if you work with such things that are quite fragile, the whole situation becomes fragile. You never know, is it going to work? How is it going to work? And yeah, also contemporary circus frees itself, I feel, from a lot of this historic ways of dealing with this situation. traditional circus, or in a certain way how commercial circus works also in these days. You have things like drop management. How do you deal with a drop so it doesn't affect the performance, or people still are with you and still on your side? And now sometimes it's really embracing this fact that it is a very fragile situation, and what does it do to the human on stage? And yeah. And also, of course, the emotional range is opened up a lot. It's not just about being impressed. It's also about caring about the human on stage who is doing this performance. Maybe sometimes there is a narrative to it that deals with a topic. Sometimes it's tackling political issues or social issues within the performance. Sometimes there are pieces where you leave with like a kind of knot in your stomach because they tackle a topic that hit deep. And it's not at all anymore about being entertained, but to dive into an artist's perspective onto a certain issue, a certain topic. So for me, there is no short way to define it. I rather celebrate its diversity. That's something I really like is quite often you don't know what to expect when you go into a contemporary circus performance. Neither from the content, the way it's presented, the space you're in. Sometimes it's a theater, sometimes it's a tent, sometimes it's an abandoned house, public space, a museum. You never know where it's going to be. And also it often dissolves the performance and audience situation. You know, so of course there's pieces that are for frontal stage, but there is also pieces that are more interactive, traveling to different spaces, giving the people a choice where they want to be during the performance, and so on and so forth. So yeah, and I think this diversity is also its strengths, not in the format it presents, how it tackles topics. Yeah. And this is something I'm personally very curious about because it feels fresh. Yeah.
Great. It's very nice to have this view. And then from this point, from what you believe and how you see the contemporary circus in all of these topics and diversity, how you see all of this movement in Austria specifically?
So in Austria, there is a clear change within the scene. This is when 2016 the first project funding was introduced by BMKers, and this made a huge impact because suddenly it was possible to work on these processes. Like if you deconstruct or tackle a topic, it takes a long time to realize this, to create it. Longer than usually in theater, for example. And before that, there was just very few projects who was working in this direction, because without funding, they're really tough to realize.
Yeah.
It comes down to money at some point, what you can do.
Of course.
So before this, many people either way went abroad in Europe to do projects, or some connected with the dance scene or with the theater scene, and then it was more part of another project where there was contemporary circus elements within that. But since 2016, we have the project funding, and so one beautiful thing is that people who have maybe went to circus schools abroad, coming back home to Austria and realize project here, we have a fresh new scene that is starting up because of this, tackling the long format. Like before 2016, the most performances in circus and contemporary circus was like, let's say, up to 20 minutes, so medium format, short format, but there was very, very few 1 hour pieces. And now this has, this is an opportunity that this can arise. There is also performers who have been professionally working in, let's say, maybe more commercial fields that now transitioning to contemporary pieces of art. That all said, it's 7 years now, so we are very young. We are very fresh. I think it's a great drive in the scene right now to do experiments, to find our own voice. For me personally, it's a bit too soon to say this is Austrian contemporary circus, because we are still figuring that out ourselves. But I see this as a great opportunity. It's really interesting to see how something so young, so fresh is developing, and what is the directions people take. What are they? Which process are they starting and following, and where does it lead them? And slowly, I think it gets, and it will get to a level where it's starting to become interesting internationally what is happening in Austria with this project. That said, we are very happy that we have the project funding, and also we have the stipendia, where also this is part of happening. I'm not sure if stipendia, stipend, I think is the English word. Scholarship, I'm not sure. But there is this second kind of funding that enables people to prepare for upcoming projects, to research without having to show a performance result or something like this at the end. But we are still a long way off to have a fully funded structure in Austria. For example, one of the next things hopefully to happen is residency funding or tour funding or more research funding. So also that right now it's all project funding. So you realize project after project. But like, for example, in dance or theater in Austria, we also have like 1-year fundings or 4-year fundings. So you can processes go a longer point of time. So this is still in the future for us. There is many people actively working on realizing this. And yeah, I'm excited because all of these layers will benefit the community and the quality of Austria.
It's very nice to recognize, to know this, because it's something fresh for me also, this news. Of course, I'm living in Austria since 2018, 2 years later. And yes, as I told you before the interview, your performance was the first circus performance that I saw here in Austria, and where I could recognize that there was a contemporary circus movement and production in Austria. It was a very nice introduction, and now again a good introduction about this, let's say, the backstage, all of the structure, this what is supporting the production of the contemporary circus in Austria. I was talking, for example, with Roberto Magro, that is a director and teacher, passing through the main circus schools in Europe. And I asked him, what is the contemporary circus? How is the contemporary circus in Europe? And he said, Europe is so big. There are many, many countries. Now it's difficult to say, but mainly I could say there are countries where the contemporary circus is very well structured, like, and with exactly fully funding for residence, for research, for long research of 4 or 5 years, or I don't know, and mainly the schools of circus, no? And how is the situation of school of circus? You see this in the future? This is starting. How you see this? How is this in Austria?
So in Austria, there is of right now there is no professional circus school that is like a full-time circus school where you can study to a bachelor or master degree. What we have is one is the Circus Academy Vienna. This is a project that has been privately run and organized by Ruth and Tillmann Schleicher. And this is a good, let's say, it's a project that happens in the evening during the week and on the weekends. So it's next to another education or a job, and it gives you a very good overview of what circus could be. Like you learn many disciplines, you learn different techniques and approaches, and it's used as a stepping stone for Austrian artists to then go to an European circus school. So it's one side is a stepping stone, and it also focuses on pedagogics. Because Austria has quite a rich kids and youth circus scene, but we don't have the universitarian level right now. In Salzburg, there is the CTC, and they are, as far as I know, they are in talks with Mozarteum Salzburg, a university for different music arts and so on. And there might be a professional circus school education coming up in the next years. As of right now, in preparation. So right now, what we have in Austria is either way people that went internationally to circus schools in Holland and in France and so on, the Netherlands, or it's self-taught artists that grow up in Austria and work here.
Nice to know. And between all of these, I see your work, developing something very specific with the object manipulation. How is the work of your company, or reality of companies in Austria? Because one thing is a person, single person researching, and another thing is a company. No, and this was another thing, talking with, for example, Roberto Magro, that was working in South America, in Europe, and he said it's a little bit more common to see companies in South America than in Europe. In Europe, I saw more projects of 2, 3, and this is not so easy to see companies. And how is the reality of companies in Austria?
So for me personally, I work with company Fanfire, and it's a project that exists since 19 years, and it has more and less members over the years. For the last 12, 13 years, it's led by Christiane Habt and me. And we are also the organizers, the managers, the slaves, the performers, like a bit of everything. We have a core team where there is Michael List, he works in stage design and development of props. We have a physiotherapist, Sonja Apfler, who is working with us on physical elements to maintain our body to be ready to do the work. So we have a loose team around of also dramaturgs and outside eyes, some from France, some from Austria. But as said, we also can, within projects, we can cooperate with artists from different fields or different countries. But the reality is that in order to have this as a main job, as the main source of income, it's easier to be a smaller company right now in Austria than a bigger one. So just because that, yes, we have project funding, and there is also other funding opening up for circus, but to live just off this project funding is still very tough in Austria. So everybody still has to have other sources of income. It might be working in the field of curation, so curating festivals or something like this. We also, this is because we are that old, as kind of like not in a worldwide standard, but in an Austrian standard, 19 years is quite old.
Yes, of course.
So we also have one part of our income is commercial shows. So we do entertainment show acts that for us feel more like craftsmanship. You know, we send a clear product that will excite people, and this is one source of our income. We are very happy that since 2016 there's a shift, so it's more the contemporary work that we can do, and that can also finance our life. So that's a good progression for us, and we hope it keeps going this way. Still, we do commercial work to pay for training halls, storage, all the equipment, and so on and so forth, and our lives. It still is a bit of a mix, because Austria, again, like, it's now slowly starting the last years that more and more jobs can be outsourced to external people or brought into the team. But especially in the beginning of the funding, most companies had to do all the jobs, like public communication, making contracts, leading the creation process, writing the pieces. All of these jobs are done by the same people. Slowly, it's also professionalizing on this level, which is really good. But for example, there is a real shortage of like directors in Austria that are contemporary circus directors. There is many theater directors, performance-related people, but like this is also something that has to grow, substructure. And of course, there is countries in Europe where this is totally normal, and there is many people you can approach or try to win over for a project. In Austria, it feels of kind of, this is the first generation in this field, and it's exciting. But
Totally. It's very nice to see, because my country, my city where I come from, that is Brasilia, has just 60-something years old. And I can remember, for example, my teachers, they were like first generation of artists of this city. And they were talking exactly this, like how excited was to arrive in the city where this was so fresh, and they were like first generation of artists, and they could build everything new without the responsibility to have the tradition on the shoulder. And this is my city, and this freedom for us is very important, to just to do whatever we want to do without this weight on the shoulder, no? And I somehow I can recognize this in your words, in this environment that you give us. It's very nice to see this. So thinking about the future, you already told us about the full funding that are coming, next steps probably, and the professional school of university. This is like nearby, let's say. As an artist movement, what do you think that how could we proceed in this environment, or this is coming naturally?
You mean as a community? What
as a community, as movement? How you see this?
So I think it's generally on a good track. I think there is many different approaches happening in Austria to what a contemporary circus performance could mean, and how it can be approached. I think this has to keep going. It's slowly arriving at structures within Austria that work in different fields of art. For example, the Kultursommer Wien was, I think, one of the first bigger festivals that is not mainly a circus festival, but they recognized contemporary circus as one of the genres from the start. And this is like huge, I find. And also what the community is doing and hopefully keeps doing is we have to apply to different funds, and we have to work on the visibility of contemporary circus. So there is some projects happening that do that. For example, the Circus collective, Sabine Maringer, Anna Uhl, and myself a bit, realized the Circus Termine.at calendar. It's an online calendar to really help give people ideas where to see circus in Austria, contemporary circus. And this is, for example, a project that it exists now, but in order to function and to be used, it needs the help of the scene. So the simple idea, you can use the calendar for free. The only thing that is asked is that you put the logo of Circus Termine on your publications. So if people see your performance, they like it, they see, oh, there is a calendar, let's see what else is there in Austria. So these things are happening. I think it's good. And yeah, of course, I think the main thing is visibility, and also educating the general public that contemporary circus is something to be explored. And to be, like, for example, in the very beginning, we called up theaters, sent them our material, photos, videos, and so on. And the first response used to be, oh, no animals on stage here. Okay, so you read the word circus and you immediately assumed.
Oh, good.
So there is still a lot I think it's good news. You know, I feel the majority of the audience appreciates contemporary circus, but because in the mind of the people, traditional circus is the benchmark, this is what they expect, for better or for worse. And also, for example, sometimes people go out of a circus performance and then they are disappointed it was not enough acrobatics, because they don't know that in contemporary circus, you don't always have to show all the different disciplines. It can be a piece that is just about one movement of one discipline. And this small, tiny world gets opened up in this performance pieces. And this is what it's about. You don't need a clown in every show. You don't need aerials or juggling in every show. It can be very specific. And this is something, of course, that sometimes it brings out a little bit of disappointment in the audience, because they're expecting a big spectacle, and then they entered into a very poetic, small performance that was aiming on opening up one social issue. But also, I feel, again, this is exciting. You know, contemporary circus does not need to entertain. It can also confront. It can also question what is the meaning of the word. It can deconstruct what it is. Yeah.
I would have just one question more, that is about, you were already talking about festivals, you know, and I see how important are the festivals in this environment, because it's the big event that should be, you know, the idea of festival, a big event that show all of these diversities, that give us a visibility in the community, that show different types of contemporary circus, and how important it is to have these festivals. No, and Vienna is a city that I was like, wow, Vienna has like 10 festivals in the same time during the whole year, let's say. And how is the environment of a contemporary circus festivals in Austria?
So there has been some festivals that have been around for like 10 plus years, and they for example, Olala, La Strada in Graz, Winterfest, and have been programming contemporary circus for many years, and but mainly international productions, because they always look for high quality, and obviously without funding there was not so much Austrian representation on these festivals. It's partly getting better that Austrian companies are more represented with their work at this older established festivals. At the same time, there is a great new movement that new festivals are popping up across Austria, dedicated to sometimes even exclusively, but always including Austrian productions, Austrian artists within this. For example, there is Freudenhaus Lustenau. They have a good program of contemporary circus internationally, but also nationally. They have a festival, I think, on really soon, Dach Festival, that celebrates German-speaking productions from Switzerland, Germany, Austria. There is Zirkustage Kufstein in January that also have always Austrian representation there. There was Cirknerbruck. It was it happened, I think, 1.5 years ago. Not quite clear when the next edition will be. Of course, there is On the Edge Festival in Vienna, which is running now for, I think, 3 years. And it's the festival that is focusing on experimental circus. And yes, I'm personally a fan of experimental circus, so I'm very happy about this.
Great.
And also great to see it's quite successful. It was sold out in its 3rd year. So this is for a festival is really great. There was Cascade Festival for 2 years running in Lower Austria, which was focusing on giving, it's a premier festival for Austrian contemporary circus. And it was really solely focusing of giving the young scene a stage to perform. And in the performance house, it was organized from Bea from Schrader and in Urhof. Great. Maybe it's coming back. We will see. There is Circus Dornbirn made a festival last year, which might come again. There is a new festival in October in St. Pölten in Theater on the horizon. So there is new festivals coming, and very excitingly, these new festivals are all interested in representing the Austrian status quo.
Nice.
I think it's a good thing. I understand that, of course, if there is a company that comes from Canada or from France, they come from decades of funding, decades of research. I think it's wrong to say, okay, Austrian circus has to meet these standards right away, because it originates from a different point of view. But I think it's well worth showing this. It's not the first steps anymore, so we are already on the way, and I think there's interesting movements happening within Austria. So I hope I didn't forget any festival. That would be a shame. But this was, I think, it from the top of my head.
Yeah.
But for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe Theaterland Steiermark, they're a theater festival, but they're always already opening up, same as Tagträume Festival, they're opening up the program to mix in contemporary circus from Austria into their programs. So there is also theater-focused festivals that have existed for a while that now implement circus. So that's also good for all of us. And yeah.
I participate in Aerial Circus Festival, more or less 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes, I think it's Aerial Arts Vienna.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have to admit, I haven't been. It never worked out time-wise. So I think there's performances present. But it's also a heavy focus on workshop and skill transfer and research a bit.
Yeah, it's true.
But I haven't been, so I can't really say much about that.
Okay.
But it's true. It's
yeah.
There. Yeah. And yeah, hopefully, I mean, the one big thing that is also happening in Vienna is so training spaces obviously is also an important place, not just a topic, not just residencies that is also slowly growing, but like just training, having a space where you can build up the constructions and work. And here we have, of course, TTC in Salzburg. It's a big tent, and I think for all areas in acrobatics, it's well equipped. Like it's space. A lot of investment went into it. There's Circus Dornbirn. They're also open for residencies and have a great hall to work in. And I heard there is maybe a new hall coming in Graz from Acosphere. And there is the Trap in Vienna, the training in Rapachgasse. And this would be great to finally have a circus hall in Vienna again.
Nice.
The last one we had was the Circus Chaos training halls. And I'm not quite sure, but I think they lasted from like 2005 to 2013. But they were private funded, and at some point, I think Google came in and bought all the halls.
Wow.
So Circus had to move out within a month.
Wow.
So yeah, since 2013, there has not been a training hall available for the scene. On the example of Vienna, there is something good. We have many open trainings. You can go literally every day to an open training, which is nice to connect to the scene. and to share a bit. But like as a professional working environment, 2 hours someplace in Vienna, and on the next day, 2 hours there is not enough to really work.
Of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. It's great to see all of this. First, this the story of all of these festivals that you could tell us about. This gives me the idea of there is a movement. There are many people working and putting this movement to develop. It's very nice. It's very nice to have this idea of a fresh environment, everything starting to work and everything like going a good way, and with this perspective that we will have each year or each moment a better environment. I hope for all of us. Yes, thank you so much for all of your collaboration. It's very rich to see everything together in your presentation of this environment, and I'm excited to be part of this. It's very nice to be here in this moment, and yes, to have opportunity to know you, to talk with you, and to know and to exchange a little bit more. Yes, I wish you all the best. I thank you so much and give you a little bit more of space to open another question that you would like to tell us if you feel, and also to give your end words.
All right. Yeah. First of all, thanks to you. I think it's really good that you took this opportunity and applied to do this. Like also, I watched some of your interviews, and it's really also interesting to see this perspective. So this whole process also of talking about what is happening, interviewing people, I think it's very valuable also for us. Yeah.
Nice.
Really great work. I like it.
Great. Nice.
All the interviews that are to come and with your research.
Yes. So yes, I invite you to continue following. I think you'll be until the end probably. The good thing is that you are in Austria, and I can invite you to come to see my not the end presentation of the project, but the sharing of this process of 6 months. This will be in September.
Nice.
Yeah, and later I send you the official invitation. Thank you so much. Yeah, tell me.
I was just, I think it would be nice also for people who want to research more to mention, there is of course the Interessensgemeinschaften, the IGs. I'm not sure what the English word is, maybe community of interest. It's groups of people who work to support artists on their way. And I think there is definitely worth mentioning the IG Freie Theater. They also run now the Circus Info.at homepage that was originally built by Elena Kreusch and Arne Mannert from Kreativkultur. And they also implemented the On the Edge Festival. And this homepage is also good to see who is there in the circus scene in Austria, because it's not only about performance artists, but also about directors, outside eyes, rehearsal stages, and so on and so forth. So that's
great.
And IG Freie Theater does great work to put good impulses into the scene to help people to professionalize. And also the IG Kultur Wien and IG Kultur Austria are years now in the support of helping the contemporary circus scene in Austria. And I think these are places worth visiting and becoming maybe a member, because they do great work for all of us.
Great. Let's try to put all of these links. Maybe we can put all of the links in the interview. I think will be helpful for me and for everybody, I think. So thank you so much one more time, and thank you for everybody that is following this research and this channel. It's very rich to talk with all of these people. It's a pleasure, and I invite you all to be here in the next interviews, where I will still talking with the Austrian contemporary circus scene. See you next time.